Hey guys, and welcome to the Brewlag podcast. My name is Connor, and today I'm joined by Liam,
Hi guys.
Will,
All right, how's it going?
and Callum.
Hello, hello.
Last but not least. So guys, talk me through it. Have anybody had any interesting beers recently? Any funny stories to do with beer over the lockdown? Let's get into it.
I can actually kick that off. So I had a very nice beer from Howling Hops, which is actually from it's actually near me, Hackney Wick in London. Really, really nice. It's called Tip On In, which is it's just like a very light, refreshing pale ale, which my dad actually got me into recently, and I can safely say, absolutely class. I had about 3 earlier, and I drank all of my dad's supply the other day. So absolutely superb. Really, really enjoyed that.
What kind of flavour are we talking there? Is it fruity? Is
I'd
it
say
hoppy?
I'd say it's more just like just a very, very nice light. I'd say it's like a hoppy flavour. I wouldn't say it's like citrusy or anything like that. I'd just say it's like a light hoppy beer. Definitely nice for summer. Can imagine it's if you're like sitting out in in the sun or that. I can imagine that's a very refreshing beer to have. I'd say that's like the prime time to have it. Actually, is like end of summer when it's like nice and hot.
Oh, interesting. I've actually recently I had a beer today that was quite literally the same. It was a peach state peach sour from Four Pure Brewing Company, and that was absolutely incredible. I've never really been the biggest fan of sours, but that one today was it was the most summer pint I think I've drank in all of lockdown so far. And there's been quite a few because it seems to be like all the good weather's come at once, and now everybody's just releasing these banging, refreshing beers. Yeah. What about you, Swin? Talk me through it.
Yeah, to be fair, mate, for this week, hadn't really been much on the beer front, mainly because last weekend I had a little bit too much to drink. I cannot lie. Overindulged slightly on some Beavertowns. You know how it goes. Yeah, those I was fortunate enough to buy the mixed core case of those Beavertown beers. So, for those who don't know what they are, that's the standard Gamma Ray, your Lupoloids, your Bloody Owls, your Neck Oil, and also the Nanobot as well. And yeah, it's just like drinking squash, really. Some of it is just absolutely outstanding. Yeah, put it this way: woke up on Sunday morning and room was spinning a little bit. Can't lie, but it was definitely worth it. There were some good beers. And yeah, when you're drinking Beavertown, you're going to get a solid brew every time. You always are. But yeah, in terms of anything new and outstanding for this week, no, not particularly. Just a quiet week on that front, sort of letting the liver rest.
Fair enough, mate.
What about you, Will? You're a man who likes to try new things. You're a man who's always on a new ale. Talk me through it.
I am. So I'm fairly new to the craft beer scene, so I've been on a bit of a binge, see what there is out there. So recently I had a nice tiny rebel. There's a porter called Marshmallow Porter. And I highly recommend it. I mean, obviously, I know you and Cal aren't exactly a fan of porters and stouts, but for anyone out there who isn't necessarily a fan of porters and stouts, I do recommend it. It's more on the sweeter side, and I think, yeah, I definitely highly recommend it on that front.
I've been reticent to give it a go, not going to lie. I've jumped on the new Tiny Rebel beers recently, the Key Lime Lager and the Money Trees, but I haven't actually sampled Stay Puffed just yet. It just seems like every time I've seen a picture of it, it looks like a glass of Coke. So I just
it does.
That's not for me.
It does. It's very light. It's lighter than most porters and stouts. So I think definitely if you don't drink them too often, it's definitely something you could try. And it might be something we could even get on the podcast at some point. I would certainly like to see what your and Callum's reactions would be to it. I think Liam might like it. I think I've heard Liam quite likes the type of drinks, but I do highly recommend it if you're into that style of beer.
I'll be honest with you, the last time I had a stout, I threw half it in the Thames. So I had an oatmeal stout, which was I think it was at Hayes Galleria in on the South Bank. Really nice place, but yeah, it tasted of coffee, and I threw most of it in the Thames.
Big plug for that beer then.
Change your
Class. What about you, Swin? You're partial to a stout now and then.
Yeah, and to be fair, mate, I think it's the Welsh blood in me. I'm just partial to any sort of alcoholic beverage. It just is what it is, I do like a good stout, though. I like the feeling of something just a little bit heavier that sits on your tongue a little bit. You can feel it in your stomach trickling down. Yeah, I do like a good stout. So, Welly's suggestion of reviewing the Stay Puffed, I'd be well up for that. To be fair, yeah.
It's good as well
So
because I think all the profits go to a good cause as well, don't they? So I think they all go towards the NHS.
Yeah.
So we probably shouldn't badmouth it too much, Carl, or everyone's going to hate us.
Yeah, I sort of figured that would be the case.
Yeah, I can't wait to try Stay Puffed. It looks like a wonderful drop. I'm so excited. On the subject of Tiny Rebel, I've been binging the key lime lagers this weekend. They are incredible. I know you guys have got orders on that haven't arrived yet, but just one thing I will say is keep them in the fridge, back of the fridge, possibly the freezer, for a good day or two before you drink it, because I had the first one when I first got in. I opened the box and I couldn't wait, and it was a bit lukewarm and it did not taste great. And then I've had 3 since that have been ice cold, and they've been absolutely incredible. They're the best summer day pint I think I've had in all of lockdown so far, I would say.
Obviously, it seems like a very sort of unique beer. Is there anything you can compare it to? Because obviously, I haven't had a lime beer ever. So, is there anything out there which I can sort of relate to?
So when you get like a Corona that's been in like an ice box for a whole day, or like a beer fridge all day, and someone sliced a lime up and put it in there, and you get to those like last 3 sips where the lime's been at the bottom, sitting in it, getting all that flavour and infusing it. It's like that, but the whole way down, and it's a lot smoother than a Corona as well. Like you can tell it's much better brewed, to be honest. Like I didn't want to do it dirty and compare it to a Corona, but that's the only thing out there that I could say.
Yeah, that's fair, mate, because I was just about to absolutely lambast you for comparing that to Corona. There ain't nothing wrong with the Corona, but you cannot compare that key lime lager to a Corona. You just can't. So I am thankful that you pulled that in at the end there.
Yeah, the ending flavour is it's like a lime's been sat in a beer for like an hour, just like infusing it. It's kind of like when you have a peach iced tea, but lager form. It's incredible. And the money trees as well. I think that was the citrus Vienna Pale. That is absolutely incredible. You can't see through it, which is always a good sign. You can't see anything through it. And that, again, ice cold, I think. It just tends to be the trend with beer, doesn't it? I think the colder it is, the better it is. But definitely when your orders arrive, get them straight in the fridge and don't touch them until, they've been in there at least a day.
Yeah, keep that on board, mate. Cheers with advice.
So, Will, when are you going to be sampling some of these Tiny Rebels? You haven't actually put any orders on yet. You're letting the side down.
Well, no, I've had a few Tiny Rebels recently. I've had the Stay Puffed. I've had the jam donut flavoured one as well.
So Pump Up the Jam. Yeah,
Pump Up the Jam.
That is a bloody favourite of mine. That one, I rate that massively.
I tell you what, we need to get a bit of a crossover episode going, because I was on the Beavertown website the other day and I actually noticed they have a jam donut IPA as well, and I think that would make for interesting listening.
Mate, we could have a versus episode.
Exactly, ripping those two apart. I'd like to see how a different brewery do it as well, what their take on it is, because the Tiny Rebel Pump Up the Jam is incredibly sweet. It's good for a pint, and then you need like 5 pints break between the next one, I'd say.
Yeah, you're right, to be fair.
Yeah, cool. So this week we elected to review, as a first go around, we decided to pick up Beavertown Lupoloid. We've already mentioned it. Beavertown, they're one of those breweries that I don't think they've actually got a single bad beer in their entire selection. That's not to say I've had the entire selection, but what I have had, none of them have been terrible whatsoever. Cal, you know a bit more about them than me, so why don't you just update everybody who doesn't know who we're talking about?
Yeah, cool. So Beavertown, they're a London-based brewery. As we say, we are obviously quite big fans. We don't think they have any bad beers, being brutally honest. They're actually sort of fairly new. That they're not like one of these really old school breweries. They're sort of fairly new on the scene. Started in 2011, doing like home brewing stuff, like literally just using pots and pans to properly start making really really small home based beers. And now obviously and since then they've obviously grown into kind of what they are today. Selling like a really nice refreshing, absolutely. This is the Essex in me coming out, but absolutely quality range of beers, which are basically going to be really really popular. So I was a big pioneer of trying to push through Lupoloid for the first beer that we review on this podcast, which is where we are today. So
yeah, I think we've all kind of had chance to have a few as well now. We've not all just had one can of it and then been like, oh right, well this is awful. or this is great. I think we've all got through a good 3 or 4, so we've sort of taken the flavour in at different times and been able to actually come up with a good, well-rounded review. I know some of us like it more than others, Callum. And yeah, I suppose we should probably kick off actually getting into reviewing it. I think we're going to break it down into sort of 4 key areas. We've got the design of the can, because that's the reason you buy the beer in the first place, let's be honest.
Absolutely.
I think the taste, seshability, which is a phrase we've coined. Liam needs to get on trademarking that one.
I do, mate. Trust me, it's in the works. Don't worry. I got that in the works.
And the last one, my memory escapes me. Cal, help me out.
Cost was the last one, mate.
Cost, there we go. Yeah, nice and simple. So let's kick it off anyway. Design of the can. Will, what are you giving it out of 5 and why?
Well, I'd definitely give it a 4 out of 5. It definitely stands out. I mean, it's bright pink and with bright greens on there as well. So it stands out. You walk past it in the supermarket. That's what I definitely noted as well. Obviously, you look at the craft beer section of the supermarket and they all got funky cans, a lot of them, and even then it managed to stand out. So yeah, I'd definitely give it a 4 out of 5. I've seen better can arts out there, but not to knock it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, Liam, are you echoing that, or have you got a slightly different opinion?
Yeah, I'm going to echo my good friend Welly on that one. I'd give it definitely a solid 4 out of 5. It's very distinct looking. If you're walking into the supermarket, you're looking at some nice ales or some nice beers in the cans, you're going to recognise that's a Beavertown straight away. The reason why I give it a 4 and not a 5, I do think there are nicer designed cans out there, especially from Beavertown as well. But I think that because of how distinct it is and the way that the purple and the green sort of clash together as well, then I think it's worthy of a 4 out of 5 for sure.
Yeah, I think by and large I'd probably give it the 4 for a lot of the same reasons mentioned. I think I'd definitely echo what you said about, I think Beavertown have got nicer designed cans. Neck Oil springs to mind.
Exactly.
But yeah, Lupoloid, it's a nice looking can. You don't feel, it doesn't feel cheap when you get it and it's in your basket at the supermarket, or when you see it come in that beautiful beer merchant's box. Quick plug for them. Yeah, it doesn't look bad in the box whatsoever. I think, yeah, I'd probably go a little bit higher and give it maybe like a 4.25, just because I think it is better than a lot of different brands out there. But yeah, there's different brands of beer, ones we've mentioned previously on this podcast, I think, that do it slightly better.
Yeah,
Cal, there's probably no point in even asking you, but we'll ask you for your rating anyway. You know what it's going to be.
I was going to say, I mean, to be fair, I'm actually going to give it a 4th vote to a 4 out of 5. Sort of echoing.
You what?
I know, astonishing, right?
Good lord.
The Beavertown pioneer isn't giving it a 5 out of 5 off the bat. No, to be fair, like I'm sort of agreeing with your boys' points. Like, I think it's a really nice design. I really like the fact that it stands out so much, sort of like so many other Beavertown beers. But yeah, I do sort of agree with you. I think there are potentially some nicer designs, like Neck Oil springs to mind, like you say, and I fully agree with that. So I'm gonna 100%. I'll probably go with a 4 out of 5 as well for that. So first category, and we've gone straight in with the unanimous vote. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a 4 for design of can. I think we're all pretty agreed across the board with that. There's no bickering amongst judges.
100%, mate.
I suppose the most important category, arguably of all, is the next one, which is taste. Liam, you are the man who I think to this day has built my love of beer and different beers, because when I first met you, I was a Budweiser man and a Coors Light man and nothing else, and you introduced me to a whole new world of drinking. So
mate, there ain't nothing wrong with a Budweiser or a Coors Light, but the reason why I think these beers are so good is when you taste them, you just think to yourself, shit me, this is a beer, and it's a proper beer. You take a sip of that, and you can feel that punch in the back of your throat. It's got some nice tropical flavours to it, nice citrus aroma as well. The tropical flavours, grapefruit, citrus spring to mind, a little bit of pineapple in it as well, but it's that lovely hoppy, bitter aftertaste which works so well with those citrus flavours. And for me, that just resembles a very good beer. It's nice and carbonated, you've got those flavours, it's lively, it's hazy. All of that combined together for me just makes what I think, anyway, what a good beer should be. And for that reason, I'd probably give it, if I'm being brutally honest, trying not to be biased, I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. I really like it. I was fortunate enough last weekend to have a good 5 or 6 cans of it, hence the the massive hangover, but it was worth it. It was such a good beer, honestly. I really can't say a bad thing about it. The reason why it's not 5, I have tried nicer beers, but it's not discrediting what the Lupoloid beer is, because it's a fantastic can of beer, and I'd recommend it to anyone who wants to start drinking these sorts of beers. It's a nice little introductory beer to go on to.
Yeah, I remember we had that sort of a chat earlier in the week when we'd all kind of had chance to have like quite a few and get through them, and I think we were all kind of unanimous in our decision that we said that it was like a Sunday league beer. Like you definitely feel it. It lets you know it's there when you have that first sip, and it's like when it's really cold, and it kind of, I think the it's got that like really good initial taste. Like the first sip, you can tell what beer it is straight away, and I think a lot of beers kind of lose that when you're drinking, because if you're on a night out, if you'd given me X beer all night and then changed me on to like a slightly different lager, I wouldn't notice. But if I was on a set lager all day and then I had a Lupoloid, I would know exactly what it was from that first sip. And I think that's, like you say, that's what makes it a good beer, is because you remember the taste and it stays with you. I think, it's one thing I did think as well, I think we spoke about it as well, was it was nice to see that it's got a pretty solid head on it, and by that it's not a bad thing whatsoever. Like, I think you can almost tell the quality of the beer from, like, you get a good 3-finger head if you pour it properly into the glass. I think, it just adds to the overall drinking experience of it. I think I'm probably going to go a little bit lower than you, than a 4.5. I think I'm going to give it, for me, for reasons we'll get onto in a different category, I'm going to go with a 3.5.
All right.
I would have given it a strong 4, but there are reasons that I will allude to later as to why it's a 3.5 for me. But nonetheless, I don't want to take too much away from it, because although that seems a low score, I think it's on the higher end of average for me, but that's just my personal taste.
Mate,
Okay.
That is a low blow off the bat. I mean, I do agree with you. It's a very punchy beer, right? You drink it, you know what you're drinking 100%. But I feel like overall, I could definitely drink probably a good 3-4 cans of it. On like a nice day, I feel like that's absolutely class. I do sort of sound off what Liam said. It's obviously quite citrusy. You have those nice sort of fruity flavors, but then you have that sort of that bitter aftertaste which sort of comes with it, which I think is absolutely brilliant. I really like it, surprisingly enough.
Callum Beavertown Grover.
Literally, it's turning out to be that way. Trust me.
His dad owns the brewery, that's why.
Mate, I wish I was like a founding partner of that. Oh, that'd be amazing. The royalties that would be coming off of that, it'd be amazing. I'd probably go for a solid 4. I think I'm gonna go for a solid 4. That may just be like a personal preference thing. I'd probably go with a solid 4 off the back of that.
Will, you've bided your time, you've analysed the evidence that we've all given, and now it's time for the big man's review, the big man of the group. Here we go.
We've all made great points, and I think you are all correct in what you have been saying. I'm going to start off my rating straight away and then give you the reasoning why. I think I have to give it a 3.5. I know it's controversial, but as Liam said and Cal said, it does have a lot of flavours and it is brilliant in that regard. I do feel like I've been punched in the taste buds a little bit afterwards. But that's not to knock it. It is a brilliant beer. But my reason is I've had a few Beavertown beers since having Lupoloid. And once you have Neck Oil, the Blood Orange and the Gamma Ray, I don't see myself buying another Lupoloid for that reason. I definitely think it's the weakest out of I've had. I said, that's not to knock it. It's still a lovely beer. It's still incredible. But if you give me a lineup of those 4, it has to be in last place out of those 4, unfortunately. But it still is much better than other IPAs I've had in the past from other breweries. So again, not knocking it, but it's just compared to its own competition, I don't think it holds up just as well.
I think that just speaks to the quality of Beavertown beers, though, doesn't it? Like the fact that the weakest one can still be such a strong beer. I think that's like a testament to the brewery and the work that they're doing. And yeah, whilst it might be the sort of the forgotten child of the Beavertown family, I think it's definitely it's good for a drink. Like if it was at a barbecue and I saw a can, I wouldn't say no. but if it was next to a neck oil, I would pick up the neck oil first. I think that's all we're trying to get at there.
Yeah, to be fair, you guys have made good points there. I know I was a bit high on my score with the 4.5, but the reason why I guess it's a 4.5 and not the 5 for me is because the other beers that I've tried from Beavertown, your Gamma Ray, especially the neck oil as well, and probably the Bloody Hell, I would give them solid 5 out of 5s. They are absolutely brilliant, and I don't think the Lupoloid has that sort of taste standard that those other beers do. But that's not to discredit what the Lupoloid is, because I still think that is an absolutely fantastic brew. I really do. I just think it's brilliant. I love the fact that it does punch your taste buds, as Will said. I love the fact that a beer can do that. I love it. I think it's brilliant.
I think by and large there we've had 2 3.5s, we've had a 4.5 and a 4. I mean, do we say that averages out as a 3.75 or a 4? You know, what does that average out as?
That'd be 3.75, I think.
I think a 3.75 is fair.
We'll go with
I
that.
think that's fair on the taste. It's not a bad score by any means. I mean, I
it's a great
guarantee
score,
there will be lower scoring beers across this series. I can guarantee it. So we'll jump on to probably the second most important factor is seshability, which is a Brewlag trademark. Do not
Pending.
steal it.
Trademark pending.
But yeah, Cal, I'm going to go to you for the seshability of it, because I think you mentioned then that you could happily drink 3-4 cans consecutively. Is that just because you have superior tolerance, or is that just because you like it that much?
I'll be honest, mate. I feel like that's more just to do with my body mass. To be honest, mate. Being a tall bloke, I feel like my tolerance is heightened compared to other people.
Good pun.
But I feel like I could drink like I could probably drink 3 or 4 cans and I'd probably be all right. But obviously we have ourselves a reasonable case study in Lupoloid seshability, which is obviously Liam Swin, who obviously I think he drank 5-6 cans and
For the boys.
and was very
Research.
very hungover. Yeah. So I overall, it's a very strong beer overall. I think it's 6.7%, which by pale ale IPA standards, that is a strong pint.
It's a beast.
It is. It definitely packs a punch. So I'd probably say seshability is going to be probably a 2.5, 3. I'll settle on a 3. I'll settle on a 3. Purely because if you're going out on like a proper sesh and you're going to like pre-drinks and you're having I don't know, 7-8 pints to start off with to kick things off, you're not going to want to have you're not
Pick it up on 7 or 8 pints.
you're not going to want Lupoloid for that, because you won't make it out 100%.
I was going to say, pre-drinks will be your whole night out if you do 7 or 8 pints of Lupoloid.
Oh, trust me,
you ain't going out afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
No chance.
What about you, Will? I think you're a good man to ask in terms of how many of a beer you can drink.
Well, my tolerance goes up and down these days. I'm confused what it is. I was initially going to give it a 2 for seshability, but as I drank more and more of it, I seem to sort of be able to tolerate it a little bit more. Initially, it is quite heavy after you finish your first one, but as you get to your second, your third, fourth, if you're daring, if you're willing to take a risk, it gets easier over time, which is a strange property to have for a beer. But I think you're definitely sort of definitely feel it the next day, as Liam can.
Oh, I'll vouch for it soon, mate, trust me.
So yeah, most definitely, I'll give it a 3. You can easily have quite a few, but that first is a little bit tough to swallow that last little drip at the end. But as time goes on, you can.
Those last few sips are brutal, aren't they? Of a Lupoloid,
Yeah.
It's kind of like especially once the hops die down and once that initial excitement and the froth is gone, it's kind of like bloody hell. Especially if you're on your like we say on your second or third, those last few sips are absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
I think I've not got anything different to say than's already been said. Only a slightly different score, and I'm going to give it a 2 for seshability, because I just think I could have 2 or 3, but I don't know if I'd have 3 or 4 happily. I think after 2 pints of it, I mean I've only had the can and I'm giving it a 2, so I don't know if I'd actually be able to manage many pints of it. If that's me exposing my poor tolerance, then so be it. But yeah, it's a undisputed 2 for me on seshability. Obviously, as you said, Cal, we've got the best case study this side of the bridge to review it now. So go on, Swin, talk me through it. The seshability of a Lupoloid, go on.
Gee, mate, it's fucking rough. Yeah, man. Yeah, I cracked open 6 of those last weekend, and it is fair to say, no pun intended, those fuckers will knock you for 6. They really will. There's some good beers, like we've said earlier on. But that hangover in the morning, it's an absolute bitch. It's a killer. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, having a proper sesh on it. Like, you need, like, it'll grow hair on your chest, you know? Like, it's just a behemoth. There's no other way to put it. But in terms of your seshability, it's a matter of perspective, really. You know, what are you expecting from the sesh? Do you want to sesh where you're out all night from your 2 in the afternoon until 12 at midnight? Are you up for the sesh for just 3 or 4 hours? You don't know. Like, so it could be anything. But in terms of your general sesh, if I could choose to avoid it, yes, I would, because there are beers out there, I think, that you can just have which are more favourable for the palate and definitely for your taste buds, as we said earlier on. So in terms of a general overall score in the sesh, I'm going to be generous because I do like the taste of the beer, so I'll be generous and say a 2.5 out of 5.
So,
Cool.
Obviously, you've had quite a few of them. Obviously, when you're on a night out with your mates, you don't necessarily have the same beer over and over again. In your opinion, would you say you could have maybe a Lupoloid and mix it with another beer and then maybe come back to a Lupoloid? How do you reckon it'll probably settle with multiple different beers? Do you reckon that'll help with the seshability a little bit more?
It's a tough one, really. I get the impression, I didn't actually experiment with this, but I get the impression that if you were to drink 2 or 3 cans or 2 or 3 pints of this Lupoloid, you could not move on to another beer without tasting the Lupoloid already in your mouth.
Okay.
It's very smooth and easy to go down the throat, don't get me wrong, but if I was to mix a Lupoloid with, say, I don't know, a Cloudwater brew or something else like that, then I'd still taste the Lupoloid more. I still think it'd be the dominant sort of flavour you would taste. So if you're going to drink your Lupoloid on the night out, don't be a bitch and commit to it, because you're going to leave it.
I sort of feel like you have to, if you are going to go for a sesh on that, I feel like it's got to be like 100% full send. You just got to go for it. Right?
Yeah.
Rather than have like 1 or 2, I think you've got a full send, go for it. Have like 6 cans,
Yeah.
why not?
Have 6 or 7 cans, be an absolute beast, and then wake up on the Sunday morning feeling like shit. So
I think 100%. It I think the analogy I tried to coin when we had a little chat about it before, when we were sort of in the group chat and whatnot, I think I likened it to, it's a bit like a girlfriend on a night out is a Lupoloid. It's kind of, it's nice, it's lovely, there's lots of other nice things around, but if you've got Lupoloid, you can't have any of that. You can't touch it. You just got to stick to it. You can look around and you can watch everybody else enjoying it, but it's not yours. And I think that's probably the best way I can put it after everything we just said.
that is a
By and
solid
large,
point. Yeah.
By and large,
Yeah.
I think that's a 2.5, isn't it, on seshability there? I think that's a 2.5.
It's got to be,
Fair play.
And cost, now, Cal, if I'm not mistaken, these beers, none of them get above £2.60, am I right?
Well, I mean, if you buy it from Beavertown directly, this is just the cans. If you were to buy like an individual can of any of their beers, none of them actually exceed £2.50 for a can.
Wow.
I believe Lupoloid itself is $2.35 a can, which, I mean, for me, that's a 5 out of 5 for cost.
Yeah, has to be.
£2.35. That's light work. That's you can't top that. If they were charging like £6 a can, I'd be questioning it a lot more. That would be a lot lower on the scale. But I mean, £2.35. That's top notch for me. So yeah, easily 5 out of 5.
That's the thing, isn't it, as well? Because, like you said, so many other breweries would put out, a lesser beer for a lot more money, I think. And it just, Beavertown, you cannot knock that Lupoloid, as quality a beer as it is, for that price. Yeah, like we said, that's a no-brainer, 5 out of 5. Like, that level of quality for that cheap, I think that's probably why they've built up such a good name and got so much goodwill in, like, the craft beer scene. I think just because if you mention Beavertown, everyone's like, oh yeah, I love Beavertown. And I think that's one of the reasons why, is because it's it's affordable quality beer. So yeah, it's a 5 from me. I imagine, Will, are you gonna hit us with some controversy now and give it a 1?
No, not this time. Not this time. I have to agree. 5 out of 5, sort of in the price value for money department. As you said, I definitely had worse beer for more money. And yeah, it's definitely very competitive compared when you go to a supermarket or you go on the internet for similar sized cans of beer. Is cheaper than, potentially a lot more worse beers out there. So definitely a beer to try, especially if you haven't been in the craft beer scene before, you haven't had a craft beer. It's definitely a good can to start off with if you want to sort of experiment getting into that scene, because it is quite familiar tasting to sort of your mainstream lagers. And if you don't like it, I mean, it's only £2.50, so you haven't exactly spent loads of money on it. So definitely 5 out of 5 in that department.
I really thought then when you said, if you don't like it, I thought you were going to follow up with, you can piss off straight afterwards. But
No.
you can stop listening now and you can do one. But
It's only first
Swin.
episode. I'm going to save the controversy for later
I
on.
was going to say, I feel like it's going to build up over time, and then later down the line, it's just going to all just explode out in like a massive blow of controversy.
Like if we get any comments and people are like, oh, you guys are too harsh or you guys are too favourable, one episode Will's just going to be like, right, you lot in the comments, fucking listen here. Swin, talk me through your score for the cost, and then I think we'll be able to sort of give it an overall out of 5 after that. Once we
Mate,
get your thoughts.
I'll
big
give
man.
it the average overall now, mate. It's going to be a 5 out of 5. All I can do is just echo what everyone else has said. I have had, by far, way worse beers for way more money. And at the end of the day, any sort of Beavertown beer for that price, it's a 5 out of 5. Go out there and go and buy one, because you ain't going to regret it.
Class lines.
Yeah,
I like
good.
it.
So that's a strong advertisement for Beavertown.
Shameless. Shameless.
Send me free beers!
Drop them an email. Please send us free beer. We will review it and give you 5s in future. But, yeah, I think by and large across the board we had what? So we had an average of a 4 for design of can. We had a 3.75 for taste, a 2.5 for sessionability, and a 5 for cost. I think that 5 for cost is going to bring the overall score back up. I think personally for me, we can deliberate this now. I think personally for me, out of 5, it's a 3, 2, or 3.5. I'm sort of torn as of yet on which one I'm going to pick out of those two.
I'd probably
Discuss.
I'd probably sort of follow you and go 3 or 3.5.
I'd go 3.5 too, yeah.
Purely,
3.5.
3.5, yeah. All round sort of 3.5, I think is pretty solid. Like it's literally the only thing that sort of lets it down is the fact that obviously you can't drink you can't drink on a sesh. Right, but apart from that, really like we've sort of rounded off already. Solid all round beer. Can't really go wrong with it overall.
Yeah, it's that I think Will mentioned, it's kind of like if you haven't had a craft beer before, it's almost like a perfect introduction of kind of what to expect. And Beavertown are a great brewery to start with, like great company, because like we've said, if you have a Lupoloid first and you move on to their other ones, your expectation of what craft beer is only going to go up, because it's only going to get better as you drink more. So I think definitely, I think 3.5's really solid, to be fair, for the first episode. I think that's quite a good score we've given there. I think we've broken it down well.
Yeah, it's definitely set a benchmark. So.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. The benchmark's been set. Whatever comes next is going to have to top it. And we'll announce later in the week what is going to come next on our Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Brewlag Podcast. We are on Facebook as well. Just search Brewlag Podcast. Give us a follow. Give us a like. Maybe give us a suggestion of what you'd like to see us review next. Just engage, interact, and we will listen. That was a good first pod, guys. What did we think of it? Where do we think we sat? Do you think we were too harsh, too nice? What about you, Cal? What do you reckon?
I'd say we were pretty impartial there. I wouldn't say we were overly biased towards any of the beers that you mentioned. Obviously, everyone has favourites, but I feel like overall that was a very sort of partial, non-biased review.
I think we could have, come in and just tried to be deliberately controversial and just absolutely ripped it apart and just been like, wow, what a lump of shit. Good God, that going down your throat.
We would never have got away with that, 100%.
No,
No,
exactly.
not a
Yeah, I
chance.
think we'd have, our careers would have been over as quick as they began. But I think that's going to conclude, isn't it? Anybody got any final notes, or I think we're good to sign out and sample some more beers for the week and come back next week with what we've found. Okay, well,
If you do see a Lupoloid, give it a go. Let us
as
know
I
what you think of
said-
it. Are we right or are we wrong?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, drop us a comment if you've had a Lupoloid recently, or if you are going to try one as a result, and let us know what you think. Let us know if you think we're massively off the mark or whether we were bang on the money. Anyway, as I mentioned, follow us on the socials at the Brewlag Podcast on Facebook. Links will be below in various descriptions on whatever platform you're listening to this on. I've been Connor, he's been Liam, and Will, and Callum. And we'll see you next week, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, lads.
See ya.